limits in your own home province of Ontario and setbacks.
I'm not sure here. They are.
Yes, he does.
Everyone handles, please. Questions asked. If you want to respond, you can. But I don't want to get into a dispute.
I'm not an advocate for the province of Ontario, right? I'm advocating for what I think is reasonable and
what you're getting paid for.
Larry?
Larry Clark, resident of Ogden Township. I just want to make a brief comment. We're sitting here and we're trying to decide whether we want to have these or whether we don't. And, the committee's going to have the input on it. You people as a board are going to make that decision. But I want to touch one base about this. Like Mark said, once you have this in, it's permanent. It's not going to go away. And we need to evaluate every aspect of what the impacts are before we either approve or disapprove of. So don't be snappy to rush to judgment and say, yeah, we're for it or we're against it. You've got to look at the whole aspect of it. And once you get that in the ground, maybe Mr. Dimmer, you can answer that question. How long do they stay? What's the life expectancy? 20 years is what?
We have a 20-year contract with Consumers Facilities. We expect them to last longer than that.
Yeah. So, it's not something that's going to just be here today and gone tomorrow. It's going to be here for a long time, and the effects of it are going to be with you as long as, you've lived in this township.
You made one comment, and I want to make sure this is understood. We cannot stop this project. This project will be coming into the township. All we can do is regulate.
Right.
That is the extent of our power.
Right. And that's important to regulate it so that it doesn't.
Yes, but don't be misled that we can or will or want to stop it. That is not the case.
There's been some other people that make that comment that are pro-wind, that, there are people here that are against it. Yes, there are, just as there are people that are for it. But the main thing here is not to rush to come to a conclusion on how we're going to handle the situation. And everyone needs to take that into very serious consideration when you decide to do what you want to do with it.
Stutzman, Ogden Township resident. Just to comment, though, about the what the board would enact is to regulate. There is regulation, and then there's also prohibitive regulation. If you're going way farther than what the standards, industry type of standards would be of other localities where they are putting in a wind project, that they have set their ordinances. If the standard or the restrictions that we are placing here in Ogden are more restrictive than any place else, then to me that is putting in restrictions to the point that no project can be done. So then, in essence, you are zoning or prohibiting the project to happen if they're beyond what normal standards would be.
Point taken.
Tony Pate from Blissfield. There was a comment made at the RIGA meeting the other night, and it was in regards to, it was by a windmill personnel, and he stated that the ordinance that they were drafting and recommending makes it somewhat prohibitive, at least if not eliminating completely the project through that area, it was reducing it significantly. Now, if it's 2,400 feet or 2,700 feet from a non-participant or something like that. But if that is prohibitive for the project that they want, but it does provide safety and sanctity and tranquility to the people in the community, then so be it. You can only fit 10 instead of the 35 you want. Because if you truly had the method that the wind farms wanted, they would run a string of them one after another, as tight as they possibly could to generate power and not interfere with each other, disregard completely about us. Because we're a small postage stamp on the face of this country. It doesn't really matter. They don't have our best interest in mind. I would like to know the answer. What is the ordinance in this gentleman's hometown?
40 decibel sound limit at night.
And distance?
I don't know if I think they're moving from, is it 2 kilometer?
I think he knows, but he's just not telling me.
I know
But my point is, the windmill companies do not have our best interests at heart in this community, in this township, and other townships.
No, they
They really don't. They have business, money, that's what they have at heart, and trying not to upset too many people in the process. So they offer a little bit. 1,000 was the initial that I heard. Then it got bumped up to 1,300. Well, 2,400, 2,700 is just way too much for them. The only reason is it reduces the quantity and it reduces the lines of them that they could actually run in this county. They would have to polka dot this county, running a lot more power lines and a lot more infrastructure on their part. And if this particular region of the state or region of the country warrants that, so be it. Out in Iowa, they can run strings one after another. Houses are spread out so far, it really doesn't matter. They're a different community. They're shorter windmills. We have much larger windmills than many of the other projects throughout the country. So don't be afraid of we're being prohibitive, and don't say that you can't stop this project. And by the way, I am not against green energy, but I am against people that are receiving cash voting on it, and I am against disrupting our peace and tranquility in this area.
Here, here,
Just to let Jim Stutzman know, the home of UV, Germany, the setbacks in quiet rural areas is 1.2 miles.
Just a minute, I have one more question.
Norris Columbia. Over 30 years ago, I sat on a planning commission for over a year to put together a zoning ordinance. And it's funny that at that point in time, this community decided they didn't need zoning. They wanted to live and die by state regs and county regs. So they voted it out. And at that time, they knew that they could open themselves up to some issues down the road someday. So,
Make a cow farm.
exactly. Which, by the way, they would probably be there if it weren't for the price of milk dropping so cheap. But anyway, so I think that's an issue that we have to live by, because that's what we voted for. So some of this conversation doesn't really have to be made.